Mike Woodson says the criticism on him and his players and his program has just not been fair. I totally disagree.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Well, thank you so much for being here and truly making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. I do want to shout out very quickly my YouTube people, my YouTube watchers, listeners, the YouTube fans. We have surpassed 4,500 subscribers. So thank you so much for doing that. You know what that means. We're on our way to 4,600. So thank you so much. And shout out to my audio listeners too. Your support has grown every single day. I really do appreciate you being here. We're going to talk about some Hoosiers in the NBA playing in the association. Get back on Kel'el Ware, see what he's been up to since he really just exploded onto the scene as a rookie. Plus another former Hoosier is getting some accolades in the NBA. Plus the Indiana Hoosiers on the football side, we lose a corner to the transfer portal in kind of a weird situation. We'll have that in a little bit later as well. But I want to go into this comment that Mike Woodson made on Monday. And it's one that, I'll be honest, I overlooked at the time, but I've gone back and looked at it, and it's got me kind of fired up, if you can't tell. Mike Woodson on his radio show on Monday, the one he does every single week, where he talks about the previous games and he previews the upcoming games and has a chance to truly tell us how he feels. Well, he did that on this past Monday's show. And he was asked about just the criticism that this team is getting, about the boo birds, about the fact that people are chanting "Fire Woodson" inside of Assembly Hall. And he answered it and spoke particularly about Trey Galloway. I'll read you the quote and what it says. He says, quote, on Trey Galloway, here's what it says, quote, "It's just not right that the fans are doing what they're doing to him, because I think he's working his butt off. He plays hard. He tries to do the right things. He doesn't always get it right. I mean, I get that." He goes on to say about Trey Galloway, quote, "I love him to death. His teammates love him. I know when I put him out there, he's going to work his butt off and play hard for us. He makes mistakes just like all players make mistakes, but some of these mistakes, you just got to live with them," end quote. He says it's just not right that the fans are doing what they're doing to him. Let me start with Galloway before I dive into this and I think see the bigger picture on this quote right here. In terms of the criticism on Trey Galloway, it's absolutely warranted. I'm sorry, it is. Because we know what Trey Galloway can be. You and I have seen the peak of Trey Galloway. We know how good he can be. He can be a leader. He can be a shot maker. He can be a facilitator. He can be a defender. He can be the best player on the floor. And we've seen that in many years ago in Trey Galloway. And I totally understand that he has dealt with injuries. He had the offseason surgery this past year. I get all of that. I totally do. But for him to be one of your go-to guys, somebody that you were supposed to rely on this year, I know you went and got guards out of the portal, but remember when people screamed at me right here on this podcast saying that I didn't think he should start, but now he is? Well, the fact that he's in and out of the starting lineup now because he's inconsistent, and he's averaging 7 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. He's shooting at a 41% clip from the floor, 63 from the free throw line, which is just atrocious for a guard, and 35% from downtown. He's averaging 7 points a game. He turns the ball over. He doesn't play defense. He doesn't hustle. I don't think he does work his butt off, Woody. Not in the games anyway. But he'll do it for a 3 or 4 minute stretch to help Indiana get back in the game, and then he disappears. You start looking around. Where'd he go? Where's Trey Galloway? And you just lose him, and you forget that he's even there because he just dusts off in the wind. That's why the fans are critical. That's why the fans are on as you know what, because he just doesn't have it all the time. There's glimpses of the past. There are shining moments of Trey Galloway. And yeah, we've needed him this year. No doubt about it. But Woody goes on to say that he's making mistakes that all players make, and some you just have to live with them. Man, Trey Galloway's been playing college basketball for 25 years, it seems like. Some of the mistakes he's making shouldn't be made by a guy like him. Bryson Tucker, yeah, he's a freshman. I get it. He's going to make mistakes. Even a guy like Mackenzie Mbako is going to make mistakes. But Trey Galloway, you should expect better from. And that's what the fans are saying here. That's why the fans are harsh on him. But this quote from Mike Woodson, where he says, it's just not right that the fans are doing what they're doing to him because I think he's working his butt off. He plays hard, blah, blah, blah. It's not right that the fans are doing what they're doing to him. And he was talking about Trey Galloway in this specific moment. I have a feeling Mike Woodson may be talking on a bigger scale here. I think he continues to, or I think he tried to allude to not just Trey Galloway, to his entire team, to his program, and most specifically to Mike Woodson himself, who's saying it's not right that the fans are doing what they're doing to us. I totally disagree. And I think it is so warranted. We're so far gone past that point. It's unbelievable. Indiana and Mike Woodson and this program and really this department that has let it get this bad deserve every ounce of criticism, hate, and just booing that they get. They probably deserve more if we're being honest here, because Indiana has become a laughingstock in the circuit of college basketball. Look around. Look around. Look at all the programs that are good again. Look at all the programs that are good for the first time because they have found a coach and they've used the portal and they've used NIL to their advantage. Things that Indiana still has, remind you. But yet, we can't figure it out. We've got a coach that's stuck in the 80s. We've got players who don't get back on defense and really just don't want to be there. And we got a fan base that's cheering for the team to lose, so all that can change. We're in a terrible spot. And Woody's not the full soul to blame, but he's a lot of it. And so I pose the question to you, and I'll say this to Mike Woodson and to anybody in Indiana that'll listen. Is the criticism fair? Is it too harsh on Indiana, Mike Woodson, Trey Galloway, and the players? It's not too harsh at all. I think it's warranted. I think it's fair. As long as it's not going to the level of threatening and things like that, obviously. But just expressing your concern and your displeasurement with this team and this program who's on a 4 out of 5 game losing streak, who's about to go on a bigger one starting tomorrow night against Purdue if you don't change something, yeah, you're going to get some criticism. You're going to get some backlash. Sorry, that's just how it goes because the fans want to win, and they want to win right now. They want to get back to the glory days. They want to get back to the high-level days of Indiana basketball, and it's been decades since we've seen that consistently. That's why the fans are upset. And we see no future with the guy that's running the program who says it's not right what the fans are saying and doing to his team, his players, and what I think most importantly in his mind and his heart, what the fans are saying about him. You don't want people to be mad? Win games, Woody. It really is that simple nowadays. Win your games and everything will be just fine. What's the old saying? What is that? Oh, right. Winning cures all. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll talk about a program that is winning and unfortunately did do a little bit of losing here recently as a cornerback hits the transfer portal after stepping away from the team, a guy that started for Indiana last year defensively. We'll talk about that coming up next right here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Attending NFL playoff games is an experience like no other. And right now, you can attend the Super Bowl using Game Time. Are you a Chiefs fan? Are you an Eagles fan? Are you one of those fans like me that's just like, good matchup. We'll see how it goes. Well, if you're one of those or if you're a fan, you can go to the Super Bowl right now, and the place to get your tickets is Game Time. They got a new feature called Game Time Picks, where it's going to filter out the fluff and show you only the best deals on the great seats so you can focus on what matters, just being there and having a good time. I use Game Time Picks for sports, music, comedy, theater. My family uses it. My friends start to use it. Heck, even my coworkers have started to use it because I keep telling them about it, and they're all just blown away with how awesome Game Time and how easy it is to use. I pair the Game Time Picks feature. I pair that with their best price and their all-in pricing feature, where if you toggle that, they're going to show your total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. So the price you see is the price you pay. And that's the best way to do it on Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers, your daily spot for all things Indiana athletics. Thank you so much for being here. And again, shout out to all of my everydayers who have shown up every single day. You guys are absolutely the best. I see you and I hear you, and I really do appreciate you. Said at the beginning, want to reiterate, YouTube, we're over 4,500 subs. So thank you so much for that. Now we push to 4,600. Eventually we're going to hit 5K, and the bosses at Locked On are just, they're blown away by what we're doing over here. So thank you for doing that. And if you're on the YouTube side, make sure that you are liking the videos every day, including this one, leaving your comments down below. Is the criticism on Indiana too harsh? Or is it the criticism on Mike Woodson that he's not happy about? Leave your thoughts in the YouTube comments down below. And if you want to be a part of the community, be a part of the growing family here, hit that subscribe button as well. And for my audio listeners on Apple or Spotify or Amazon or whatever site you're using to listen to us on the audio version of this show, be sure you are a subscriber if possible. Follow us there, turn on those notifications, leave us those 5-star reviews. All of that is helpful to us. So thank you so much for doing all of that and supporting the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. All right, well, we got some news on the football side of things, and an unexpected piece of news, actually, where Indiana, it seems like it's late for this, but it happened. Jameer Johnson, one of Indiana's starting corners last year, started 10 games for Indiana on a playoff team, has stepped away from the program and is going to enter the transfer portal. Again, Jameer Johnson started 10 games a year ago for Indiana. He played in 12. He finished the season with 1 interception, a pass breakup, and 35 total tackles after coming in from Texas in 2023. Those stats again for you: 35 tackles, 1 interception, and 1 pass breakup. I thought he played well. I mean, he didn't just steal the headlines or anything. Jameer Johnson didn't, but I thought he was a solid piece back there. And for a guy, again, that played 12 games, started 10 of them on a college football playoff team, like that's pretty good stuff, right? I mean, that seems like somebody you can rely on. Seems like a guy that you can trust. And yeah, we got this news that he is stepping away and no longer with the program. He's going to be in the transfer portal and try to find a new home. And it just seems weird. This whole situation just, I don't know, man. It just, something doesn't seem right about this. Something seems off about this entire situation. I don't know. And this is all speculation that I'm about to spit at you here. So don't take this and run to the water cooler with it. But maybe there was some sort of a disconnect between Johnson and Cignetti, or Johnson and the defensive staff, or maybe, I don't know, maybe he just didn't want to be here. Maybe Indiana didn't want him here, right? It very well could be one of those situations where Indiana said, look, man, with what's coming back, what we brought in through the portal, plus our young guys coming in, which I'm going to tell you all those names in just a second. With all those guys coming in, man, we don't think we really have a spot for you. So you can hang around if you want to, but can't really guarantee you're going to play a whole lot. We would suggest that you go to the transfer portal and try to find yourself a new home. Maybe that's what happened here. I'm still trying to get information and read into all of this and trying to get some people to get back with me in terms of anybody that knows any more information on this. Because as of this recording, as of this coming out, all we know is that he has stepped away from the team and he's going to enter the portal. Now, I think a very legitimate reasoning could be the fact of the room that he's a part of in that cornerback room, where you're bringing back the All-American and D'Angelo Ponds. You go and get two of the best corners in the transfer portal. And you also are bringing in a lot of young, raw freshman talent at that position as well. I've told you several times, I think the cornerback position on this football team is one of the best for Indiana moving into 2025. Did you take a hit with Jameer Johnson? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. You took a hit by losing a guy like this, a 10-game starter, 12-game player. Yeah, a guy who had 35 tackles, a pick, and a pass breakup. You're going to miss that for sure. But you bring back D'Angelo Ponds, who, again, was an All-American this past year, along with Aiden Fisher at the linebacker spot. So you bring back D'Angelo Ponds. Plus, I'm so excited about Rylan Gandy, the Pittsburgh corner transfer. Told you how good he can be. And then Amarian Knighton. This was the one back in December, right, last month, when we were doing all of our shows and our episodes after every single commit came in through the portal. Amarian Knighton was the one, okay? The one from Northern Illinois that I told you I am most excited about, especially on the defensive side. There's a lot of good names here. Yes, I know Mendoza's a big one, but I'm just talking at the time and now overall. I'm telling you, Amarian Knighton is him. He is going to be so good for this Indiana defense. I think he starts. I think he's a starter this fall. I really do. I think he starts on the other side from D'Angelo Ponds, because I think he's that good. And if he doesn't start immediately, I think he works his way into that role. Nothing against Rylan Gandy at all. Nothing at all. But I think with those guys plus Jamari Sharp, right? That's an underrated returner as well. The redshirt junior Jamari Sharp, who is coming back this year. And listen to these freshman names. You ready for this? You've got Dontre Henderson, Josh Philliston. You've got Zachary Smith, Seonta Stewart, and Jalen Bell. You've got a redshirt freshman and true freshman there. 5 names as freshmen coming in on this team. Plus, you bring your All-American back, you bring a junior back, and you have 2 transfers. Dude, that room is stacked, man. That room is overloaded. It is falling out of the lid onto the stove and burning everything, and mom's getting mad, right? The cornerback room is legit for Indiana this year. So does it hurt to lose a guy like Jameer Johnson? Yeah, it does. And I have a feeling here there's more to this story. But if you can't tell, I'm not really sweating this. It hurts. It sucks. I hate to lose this guy because I think he's really good. And I think he's going to go play somewhere and be a legitimate contributor somewhere. But I think Indiana's okay. I hate to be that guy to be like, we don't need him. He sucked anyway. We don't need him. Not saying that at all. Not at all. Okay. You will feel Jameer Johnson not being on this team, but I think we've brought in enough talent for it to be okay. And maybe, just maybe, Indiana fans, maybe this was their plan all along. Maybe that's why you go get 2 potential starters at the position in the transfer portal. Maybe you wanted to replace Jameer Johnson. Maybe you just wanted to see what happened. And now the chips have fallen how they've fallen, and now you're good, right? I don't know. There's more to this story, I feel. But regardless, you've got plenty of talent in the room, and Indiana loses Jameer Johnson, who is stepping away from the program. He will enter the transfer portal at the cornerback position, a 10-game starter for Indiana last year on the defensive side of the football. All right, coming up in our final segment on Locked on Hoosiers, we're going to take a look at some Hoosiers in the association. That's right, Hoosiers in the NBA, as Kel'el Ware has been continuing to play really well. And Trayce Jackson-Davis just got a nice accolade as well. We'll have that for you on the final segment right here on Locked on Hoosiers. Final segment on Locked on Hoosiers. Thank you so much for being here, and shout out to you, my everydayers, or if you're a new person here, right? You're just now getting in second, third, fourth time, or this is your very first time on the show, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on audio. Thank you so much for being here. We're having a lot of fun. Just ask the people that are here every day. We're having a blast here, and there's so much great things to talk about with Indiana right now, and we're trying to cover it as best as we can, as much as we can, and as energetic as we can. So thank you so much for being here. Hopefully you can tell and see that I'm having a lot of fun, and hopefully that you're enjoying it as well. Want to highlight a couple of guys really quickly here as we wrap up the show. A couple of Indiana dudes who are in the NBA. We've talked about Kel'el Ware already, and we will continue to talk about Kel'el Ware because he is very quickly inserted himself into the Rookie of the Year conversation. He's playing on the Miami Heat. And for those of you that watch the NBA, you know what's going on with the Miami Heat. For those of you that don't know what's going on and don't watch the NBA, I don't necessarily blame you. The new joke, the running joke right now for the NBA, it's the National Blowout Association, because it seems like every single night, most games are 20, 30 point runaways. It's gotten kind of bad. You got to fix it somehow. I don't know how. That's an Adam Silver problem. That's not our problem. And we're not going to get into the issues on the NBA because I could go on for days on that. We've got Locked On NBA channel, so go check those out. Those guys can tell you all about it. But for Kel'el Ware, right, the center for Miami, he's gotten in, he's gotten active, and my goodness, he's gotten good, okay? He was already good when he left Indiana, but listen to some of these numbers. Right now, he's averaging 8.5 points, 5 rebounds, half an assist. He's shooting 56% from the floor. Listen to some of these scoring totals just in the month of January, okay? Since January 1, he's had totals of 10, 25, 12, 19, 25, 20, 22, 19. I mean, the dude's on an absolute tear. Sure, he's had some games where it's slipped up and fallen back a little bit. Heck, Wednesday night last night was a perfect example in a loss to Cleveland. They had his number. He didn't play well. He also only played 29 minutes in that game where he had just 5 points, but he had 4 rebounds, 3 assists as well. And he knocked down just one of his 4 made threes. But listen to some of these 3-pointers that he's making in those high scoring totals. It's because he's knocking down shots, right? He went 4 for 4 the other night when they beat the Magic in overtime. He had 19 points. He went 2 for 7, 2 for 6, 3 for 3, right? 2 for 3, 3 for 4. Like, we told you, well, I told you, and we saw during his time in Indiana that he started to develop that 3-point shot. And I said during his time here, make 1 for 3. Go 33% as a big man. That's plenty good, especially in college, but it's good enough to get you to the NBA because you see they want centers to shoot the basketball. And that's what Kel'el Ware can do. On top of, obviously, he's a rebounding double-double machine. He's got totals of rebounds in 10, 10, 15, 11, 13, 7, 8. I mean, the numbers go on and on for this guy. And he continues to be a really, really good player for the Miami Heat, who are going through so much drama with Jimmy Butler right now. It's insane. But they keep keeping their head afloat. They're not a great team right now overall. Miami's not. But they're still hanging around. And I think Kel'el Ware is a really, really big deal and a really big reason for that, right? Miami's a 500 squad right now, but Kel'el Ware is absolutely balling out. We're cheering for him. We're pulling for him. We're supporting him. And we hope that he continues to make a case for the Rookie of the Year. And the other guy that I mentioned, Trayce Jackson-Davis, has been named to the NBA Rising Stars game during All-Star Weekend coming up in 2025. He's going to be on the Rising Stars Challenge or the Rising Stars game, which is one that is played with first, second, I believe third-year players as well, and kind of like third, fourth year. I mean, it's the young, and that would make sense, obviously, with Trayce Jackson-Davis. It's the younger players in the league that get voted and selected to be in the Rising Stars Challenge. Listen to some of the names that he's going to be standing next to. He's going to be on teams with Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller, Stephon Castle, Alex Sarr, and more. More big names, even more than those. I mean, he's going to be on and got this list from Jared Kelly at Peaks.com. So shout out to him for putting this together. This is all going to be in middle of February. The Rising Stars game, according to him, is going to be on Sunday night. They'll play against the NBA All-Stars. Oh, I forgot. Man, I forgot they changed the whole NBA All-Star form. I'll be honest, I haven't watched the All-Star stuff in several years. It just got so bad, man. The last good game they had was when they started with the Elam ending, right? And both teams just went back and forth. They actually started playing this crazy. They started doing this wild thing. Hadn't seen it in forever. They started playing defense. started playing defense in the All-Star game. It was incredible. I think they've done away with that. They've changed it all around. I don't know. Good news is Trayce Jackson-Davis in Indiana will be represented in All-Star Weekend, or at All-Star Weekend, I should say. And do want to shout out Trayce Jackson-Davis. He's playing on the Warriors, which they're not a great team right now. They're struggling. Got a lot of old dudes on there, but he's averaging almost 20 minutes a game. He is averaging 8 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 57% from the field right now. Is Trayce Jackson-Davis, and now working in his young NBA career. So did want to highlight that as well. He'll be at All-Star Weekend in the Rising Stars Challenge with some of the other biggest names in the NBA, on top of Kel'el Ware, who is making a serious push for Rookie of the Year in the NBA. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much for being here. I can't say that enough. I really appreciate it. Your support means a ton, and the numbers are backing it up that you guys are here. You want more content, and I just can't say thank you enough to everybody who's here. So on the YouTube side, again, like this video, comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe to the channel. On the audio side, follow us there, leave us those 5-star reviews, and have your notifications turned on in case we post bonus episodes, okay? I don't want you to miss any of those. We post them throughout the week, on weekends, things like that. So be sure that you are being notified. That way you never miss a new episode. Coming up on tomorrow's Friday edition of Locked On Hoosiers, we're going to have Brian Smith join us, our Locked On recruiting expert. IU grad will be with us to talk about big names in 2026 for Indiana football. And we'll have a short preview of Indiana and Purdue, which happens tomorrow night at Purdue against the number 10 team in the country. That's coming up tomorrow. All right. So until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe. I'll talk to you later.